And now to big developments in an international custody case. A judge in Brazil has just changed the rules for New Jersey father David Goldman. We're going to speak with his attorney in just a moment. But first, the details from NBC's Jeff Rawson. Jeff, good morning.
Hi, Meredith. Good morning to you. Here's the good news for David Goldman. According to the courts in Brazil, starting now, he can actually have his son Sean for 6 days a week. They can even live together, unsupervised. But there's a big catch. For this loving father, it's yet another ruling that hurts. A federal judge in Brazil now says David Goldman can have custody of Sean from 9 a.m. Monday to 8 p.m. Saturday every week. No more court-appointed monitors, just father and son. But here's the problem. It has to be in Brazil.
This is not a good status quo. It's not even a good interim solution. What's he going to do, stay in a hotel?
It's a temporary order until the final custody ruling comes down. But for Goldman, the plan is flawed. His elusive goal remains the same. Get Sean back home to New Jersey, no strings attached. David spoke with Meredith on Today earlier this week.
It's nothing short of tragic, and the pain to watch your son, your child, as a parent, suffer and not to be able to help them is beyond unbearable.
It was 5 years ago, 2004, when David's wife took their son to Brazil. They never returned. From there, she divorced David, remarried, got pregnant, and then died during childbirth. David was the only biological parent left. But her new husband has been fighting to keep Sean in Brazil with him. Through seemingly endless court motions and appeals, he's been winning. Despite victories for David in Brazil's Supreme Court and then at least one lower court.
I hope it will diminish the time apart with my son.
But recently, Sean, now 9 years old, appeared in videotaped testimony saying he wants to stay in Brazil, coached, David says, by the Brazilian husband and his family.
Some 9-year-old does not come up with the idea of doing a 40-minute video repeating over and over again how he wants to stay in Brazil. It has all the earmarks and markings of a hostage situation.
David Goldman has been down this road before. There's a ruling where he can see his son, so he jumps the next flight to Brazil, only to have the rug pulled out once he gets there. So this time, he is not rushing down there. Instead, sticking to his original plan, fighting to get Sean back home for good. Meredith.
Jeff, thank you very much. Patricia Appy is David Goldman's attorney. Patricia, good morning to you.
Hi, good morning.
Your reaction to this ruling that David should have custody of Sean for 6 days, but in Brazil?
Well, the good news was the application was brought by the federal prosecutor. It wasn't brought by us. There's a support for the obvious, and that is that this child should be with his father. There was an appeal taken by the grandparents. The appeal has been denied. So we've got an order that will provide David more access. That's the good part. The bad part is that we expect it'll be appealed again. We expect that there'll be some delays. To send David down there and not be able to have him see Sean is really problematic. The other is we don't want anything to delay this case being resolved completely, which is really the next issue for us.
If there is not an appeal, would he go down immediately?
Yes. Well, we're looking for an opportunity for him to visit more with Sean. Sean has vacation coming up, and it would be the ideal time for them to spend some time together. But we have to be sure that it's actually going to happen. We have to be sure that it can be done safely, and it can be done with an opportunity where the child is really with David for a significant period of time, as this court order is supposed to.
Yeah, but it does seem to indicate that the court is saying Sean should spend more time
No question
with his
about
dad.
it. No question about it.
What about the statement that Sean apparently gave to a private psychiatrist, I guess, that he wants to stay in Brazil?
It's a statement that was generated by taking this child, who is 9, to a psychiatric facility, hiring 5 witnesses behind a mirrored wall, and taping him for about 30-40 minutes. It is outrageous beyond all reckoning.
You've called it psychological abuse.
Absolutely. Understand, the court in the original decision that said that the child should go back said the child was being traumatized in the current situation. Imagine the trauma associated with bringing a child to a psychiatric facility and interrogating him on film. This goes beyond the bounds of human decency and is a human rights violation.
I would assume that the family, the Brazilian family that has David right now, would want this used as evidence in the court. Is that possible, and would that damage David's chances of getting his son back?
Well, yes, they want to use this as evidence. They have to find a way to get it into the record. I don't think that they believe they'll get it in before the appellate court. They're hoping that they'll be back before the Supreme Court. They've already threatened that that's where this is headed, and that they'll have a more political opportunity to use this tape and other evidence that they've created. The courts have consistently said this child should not be asked these questions. The court psychologists support the return of this child and that he's subject to abuse in Brazil.
Patricia, how is David handling
He's terrible.
all this?
This is Father's Day weekend coming up. It would be bad without all these developments. It is brutal to be in that situation as a dad, to see that your child is being harmed and not be able to protect your child. That's something I think we can all relate to, and it makes it very, very difficult for him.
We tried to reach David last night. I did, and was unsuccessful. I'm very glad that you were here, Patricia.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Patricia Appy.